Very important right now for you to take 1 second and hit that like button. Help push us through the YouTube algorithm. And then it's also equally as important to pound on that bell notification, hit that bell notification and click all. That way you stay up to date on all my latest videos as the inflationary depression that I've been warning about. Opinions, because I am not a financial advisor. This is just my overall thesis of the market, right? And as we get into it now, you can see the XRP price.
Tons to go crypto investing, and we have a volatile week up ahead as we're into Tuesday now, and I expect a lot of volatility in the overall markets, the cryptos, and the equity markets as the Fed is going to raise the benchmark interest rate, probably 75 basis points, but it could be as little as 50 basis points. And if it's 50 basis points, you should see a pretty good bounce in all of the markets, right? Ooh. You should see a pretty good bounce in all the markets if they only raise 50 basis points, and depending on what the language is that they're speaking, if they seem to be more of a, we're going to start to pull back these rate hikes, you're going to see an even bigger bounce, right? So there could be a nice bear market rally here, and we're going to have to pay attention for that because you can already see the Bitcoin price is sort of setting up for it right here. We had that little pump that we called 2 weeks ago, and now we're in this consolidation, and we have an upside target of 24,000 with underneath support that it bounced off of right here at 19,200 and major underneath support to prevent a pattern breakdown from a double bottom low back there in early June. It's at 16,658, right? And you can see what could be trying to happen here is we're consolidating just above the moving averages, and if you can hold these moving averages on the pump this week when the Fed starts to talk, you could come up here to 24,000 in the Bitcoin price, which old Vincenzo went out on a limb out on the other side of the market when everyone was bearish down here 2 weekends ago, leading up into the weekend with the bullish sentiment that was going on with the future rate hikes and what the overall market and the stories were coming out in the mainstream articles and media outlets, YouTube and all the rest of it, and the Fed itself saying that they might be doing a soft pivot by saying, and some of the language this week is what the markets are anticipating is the Fed to say that they're making progress on the inflation fight and they're winning the inflation battle, right? And then the markets would see that as bullish because then the markets would foresee and look into the future and say, well, if they're winning the fight on inflation, that means 3 months, 6 months, 9 months from now, inflation should be coming down and the Fed will not have to raise rates as high as they were anticipating, right? So that is what I think is going on with the markets. That's what the markets are anticipating, and that's why we have a 24,000 upper price target and 19,000 is your support, and we're going to have to pay attention to see how that indeed plays out. If you look at the XRP price is doing the same thing it's been doing for quite some time. It's still consolidating in this range right here, right? We've been consolidating in this range for several weeks now after that massive 4-day pump. These tires in this truck like to squeal the tires. There's a little bit of water on the road. Interesting. But you can see we had that nice pump there, right? Because we're going to be late to work today, so that's not good. Sneak in there under the radar as they're getting their tools out and whatnot. But, as I digress, sorry, forgot what I was doing there for a minute. But you can see we've been consolidating in this range on the XRP price after we had this big pump, after the long consolidation down here in that red trading zone or the major VT volume indicator trading range, where if you're coming from above it, it should act as support, and if you're coming from below it, it should act as resistance. And it is actually acting as resistance or support like it should. But then we identified up here this blue trading zone that goes all the way from 66 cents down to 50 cents down there, right? We identified that a long time ago on the major area that was, and it's gotten rejected there again, and we're consolidating right at the moving averages. And what you would like to see is this volume to spike up like it did back there on this pump up here, and then that could lead the price higher. If the volume can lead the price higher, we can run up into the 50 cents and maybe knock down that wall and try to make a run up there to that 66 cents. But if you can't do that, you're coming down here to 37 cents, which used to be major upper resistance, and now it can act as major new lower support on the first 3 tons if it can come back down there. If it does, when it does, and hold it as support, you can even come back up into there too. So it's a very interesting scenario as the Fed speaks, as this could fly up to here or could fly down to there before, during, and immediately after the Fed talks. But usually what happens, they're doing their 2-day meeting, I believe, today, and it concludes tomorrow, November 2nd, and then they would raise rates on Thursday, I believe, the 3rd, and usually, or the 2nd, I think it's the 2-day meeting and the rate hike. Usually the Fed talks, or during the day there's a lot of volatility, a little bit down, a little bit up, but in volatile fashion to make them look a lot more extreme than it is. And then after the Fed talks, during its speech, the markets usually start to pump when the media asks questions, right? And then they start hearing his answers, and they start interpreting it as either hawkish or dovish, right? So we'll look to see what happens there. It's going to be a very interesting week as we really get on into this. But if we look at the Ethereum price, this was another great call by Vincenzo. Owen went out there on YouTube and in the crypto sphere that was calling the massive pump. And this one was a massive pump. I believe it got up almost 40%. When the price was down there a couple of Fridays ago, we said $1,680.99 from the top part of this blue trading zone. It's going to run up against the VP volume indicator, and that would act as major overhead resistance. You can see sell pressure 1, sell pressure 2, and it's doing this up and sideways consolidation as you're deflating the volume after this massive run up in volume. This is what you like to see on a pump. And it's the 4-hour time frame too. That's a big run up in volume in the 4-hour time frame with a big pump, right? Now you're having the consolidation and the relaxing and some of the selling that goes on after a massive pump, right? But that was something that was telegraphed, something that old Vincenzo thought was going to happen along with the rest of the market. Bitcoin just happened to be one of the top performers in the big crypto pump week last. They this and those, right? So that's what you got to watch out for now. Can it get above the 1680 and make a run at 1889? Or is it going to start to get rejected and trade down towards the moving averages and then sort of consolidate between the moving averages and the 1680 for a few days, right? Or a few weeks, like XRP has. So we're going to have to watch out and pay attention for this and pay attention for what the next overall move is in the crypto market, right? And then if we look over here, you can see what's going on with the Fed. Another interest rate hike from the Fed. Federal Reserve is on the way, but the Bank of Canada only raised their interest rates 50 basis points, which was 25 basis points less than they anticipated, right? So that could be seen as a soft pivot because they're not jacking them up as fast and furious as they were saying, and that's something that the market thinks that the Fed might do right now, but they're not really. That's not the overwhelming majority feeling, but the feeling is even if they raise 75 basis points, that they're going to start to get, the talk is going to start, the rhetoric is going to start to turn the other way, right? But you can see that we got the interest rate hike. This week, the Federal Reserve will likely raise for the 6th consecutive time this week, raising the federal benchmark interest rate, right? And I believe that's something that hasn't been done in a very long time. You can see some more stuff coming from them. The mumbo jumbo is talking about what's going to happen, the overall economy and whatnot. Then you can see the BOE interest rate, right? The Bank of England, I believe that is. You can see where it's at. You can see how the trajectory's been a very a nice uptrend as they've been raising the rates in the past 12 months, coming from very low rates, still very low rates, but higher than it was. Past the peak, I don't think so. I think this is just a nice consolidation of the inflation. We're having it's like the stock market. You have a big pump, you have a consolidation, you have some downtrend, and then you skyrocket back to the upside and reach the old regional high. And I think that's what the inflation is doing. And then you can see employment for inflation, right? And that continues to look up.